Hi. I wanted to give a small answer to Ari Brainhertz, a fellow ADHD person who has made a video recently about how they've changed, and I wanted to address the same question. Have I changed? How have I changed? How have I changed since COVID? And even further back. I first noticed that I changed a couple of months ago when I finally came to the realization, like, oh, right, life is now very different. I'm more mature, I'm more relaxed, I'm medicated, I have all of the abilities given to me to finally figure out what is going on in my brain, and I am very grateful for it. And that was like as far as my reflection went. But Awi's video made me realize a few more things about how I've changed, and it's not just about the internal workings of myself, but also the things going on around me. My friend group is relatively similar. There's a few things that have changed since COVID, but post-COVID era, definitely roughly the same friend group, barring a few cases of people leaving, coming in. What I think is more interesting is how my relationship with my friends has changed, because pre-COVID, we all lived in the same city. Now we all live spread out, and our relationship, funnily enough, went from being very in person to very online because of the lockdowns, to then being very in person again post-lockdowns, to being online again. And I think that's a really interesting little life path that I've been down. The way that I interact with my friends now mostly is online. I spend a lot of my time playing video games with them, discussing things on Discord, and not really going out and interacting with them, barring, weekends and stuff, because we're no longer students. We no longer live in close proximity. We all have jobs, we all have responsibilities, we all have to take care of ourselves in our own little corner of the world, and so now we interact still on the same level of friendship. Our friendship hasn't gone down any, it's just moved to a new platform. And that platform is online, mostly via Discord. This is also a reason why I want to communicate online more, my deep personal feelings, because I struggle with communication a lot when it comes to, how I feel and how I want to communicate these feelings. I want to put myself out there to really be able to make people understand what I'm feeling. And I'm very grateful that I have my friends, and I enjoy being around my friends when I'm around them. And I enjoy seeing them in person whenever we all, timetables line up perfectly. Something else that I've noticed that I've changed is the way that I play video games. I used to be the kind of person who would play, one game for 6 hours and then do that for a couple of months and then play something else. Now I have a rotation of games that I like to play an hour at a time and play them, play 2 or 3 games in a day when I have time. And I think that's way more healthy than what I used to do, which is, sit at the same game for 6 hours straight and then get bored of it after a week. Something Awi brought up in their video is the characters that they play in video games. In Animal Crossing is basically what they are now physically, like the whole dress up. I don't customize my characters to look like me, I customize my characters to be the opposite of me. When I make a custom character, I tend, when I can, make a tall, redhead, black woman. That is basically all of the characters I ever play whenever I'm given customizability on video games. The first ever character I played on Skyrim was a female Redguard. The first character I created in Dragon's Dogma is a tall, dark-skinned female redhead. That's just the kinds of characters I make when I play these video games. Now, am I transgender, transracial? No. I am very comfortable being a man and being manly, or, you know, as masculine as this is. I have been around transgender people for a while at this point, and at no point have I ever questioned my own gender. If anything, I don't think about gender at all, and I think that's more to do with being cisgendered than being transgendered. You can correct me on this, but I feel like that's mostly how cisgendered people feel about gender, is that they don't think about it. One other thing that I've realized in the last 6 years is that I've matured quite a bit. In fact, I've come to the conclusion that, well, you know, past the age of 25, yeah, the brain really does plateau at a certain level when it comes to the hormone stuff, and so I feel like I'm a lot less brash, a lot less immature. I've had to come to the conclusion that, well, I am actually a lot more sophisticated than I thought I was. I've also come to appreciate what I am, and that is, you know, someone who has all of these conflicting emotions in their mind, all of these very big ideas that they'd like to realize, and also all of these complications that they are going to have to work around. I am what I am, and that's just kind of what I'm going to have to work around. During the first lockdown, things were okay. I was living with my ex at the time. We had a small flat. We had stable-ish income, and we were happy. We would still go out, break confinement, because we needed to go for walks. There was a lovely little river down next to where we used to live, so we would walk along the river for hours, and we never got into too much trouble. It was a good time, and I realized how simple things were back then compared to now, where I do have a lot of things that I need to be responsible for. When I was younger, I believed that responsibilities were going to be things like taxes, which is a responsibility, but taxes are only something you think about maybe an hour a year. I didn't realize that what responsibilities really were to oneself. The biggest responsibility we have is to maintain ourselves, and that's something that I still struggle with, mostly because I don't find the need for it. It's something that I am working on, but it is still complicated to shower 4 times a week. That is something that I've always had problems with, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people with ADHD and autism can relate to this. One of the biggest things that I've always struggled with is the fact that I bite my nails quite viciously. And while it has gotten better in recent months because I've been actively trying to stop biting my nails, it was a struggle for an incredibly long time to actually, you know, realize that the nails are in my mouth and then stop biting them. That is something that I'm quite proud of, and that is one of the biggest things that has changed in my life recently, is the fact that I am able to look at myself, realize what I'm doing wrong, and then stop it. Something that's difficult for people to understand is the fact that not doing something can be even more complicated than doing something. And I'm not specifically talking about things like drug-related habits, because of course being addicted to heroin is one thing, but biting your nails is something that doesn't seem in any way, shape or form related, but it kind of is. Not in that there's physical hooks in your brain, but that there's this repeated, comforting gesture that you keep doing daily. Like smoking as well. A lot of people who quit smoking still find themselves, you know, just doing that, holding their hand down by their side, like the smoking gesture. It's a habit that's incredibly hard to kill, and I understand completely. Now, while I don't smoke or do drugs, I do have my own addictions that I'm trying to deal with, mostly biting my nails and food. And for those who don't know, yes, you can have an addiction to food. It's very weird, but it's true. I've struggled with compulsive eating basically since I've been a teenager, and it's been a very, very difficult uphill battle. That is the one thing that I really need to learn how to change in the future. Something else I've noticed in the last 6 years approximately is how I interact with myself. I didn't, basically, for the longest time. The most that I would do would be to write down random things that I was thinking about, but I would never go back and reflect upon those things. And it's only, I would say, last year when I opened back those old books and read through them that I realized, oh, this was a really, really sad boy that desperately needed help that just didn't come. The only way that that help could have come was from a older, more mature self that never really went back and looked upon the things that he was thinking. Having this, where I have to talk to myself, firstly into the phone, and then edit the video, rewatch it at least 3 times to cut and add any kind of notations up here, or any kind of way to review in the literal sense of the term, where I have to re-watch myself. And then when I upload the video, make sure that it uploaded well, make sure that the quality is sufficient, make sure that the audio is good through the YouTube compression. It's a lot, and it is important for me to also really ingrain in my mind what I'm thinking, because that's something that I just don't process. The thoughts just leave my head the second they leave my mouth, and I need to manage this. I need to manage the fact that I have thoughts that stay in my brain longer than I think that they do. This is going to be an incredibly good anchor for my mind. So I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If there's anything else that I would like to add, I would put it in the description. And if there's anything that you would like to say, feel free to leave it in the comments. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.